You just deleted my life's work!
I was working at this soul-crushing freight company called Metro Logistics, stuck in a cubicle that smelled like broken dreams and instant coffee. The kicker? My wife Rachel was my direct supervisor. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Picture this. Tuesday afternoon, packed conference room. 20 coworkers crammed around a table that looked like it survived several corporate purges. The fluorescent lights were doing their usual death flicker, and I'm sitting in the back corner watching my wife click through slides of the report I'd spent 3 weeks building. This wasn't just any report. I'd poured everything into documenting client interactions, tracking satisfaction metrics, identifying patterns that could actually help us retain customers instead of bleeding them dry. Late nights fueled by gas station coffee and determination, weekends sacrificed to spreadsheets and data analysis. I genuinely thought it was solid work. But Rachel was tearing through each slide like she was playing whack-a-mole with my dignity. "Look at this methodology," she said with a laugh that could freeze hell over. "These metrics don't align with corporate standards." Click. And this conclusion? Pure fantasy. Every time I tried to explain my reasoning, she'd cut me off with that smile she'd perfected over our 6 years of marriage. Part pity, part disgust, with a hint of, "Shut up before you embarrass yourself further." Then came the moment that still haunts me. She reached the final slide with my comprehensive recommendations and just stared at it. The room went dead silent, except for the ancient projector humming and someone's stomach growling. "You know what?" she said, voice dripping fake sweetness. "This entire report is garbage." And then, I swear this happened in slow motion. She grabbed the mouse, dragged my file to the trash, and hit delete like she was squashing a mosquito. 3 weeks of work, gone. Poof. While 20 people watched in stunned silence, I sat there feeling sucker-punched. My chest felt heavy, hands shaking with that fight-or-flight trembling. The silence was deafening. Some people gave me funeral sympathy looks. Others studied their phones like they contained the secrets of the universe. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, 415 area code. Normally I'd ignore it, but something told me to take this call. Maybe desperation. Maybe the universe throwing me a lifeline. "Excuse me," I muttered, walking toward the door while Rachel's laser stare burned holes in my back. "Mr. Thompson?" The voice was calm, professional, warm. "This is Elena Rodriguez from Summit Logistics. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "Bad time?" "Lady, you just called during my professional execution. Actually, your timing is perfect. We've been following your work at Metro Logistics. We're very impressed with your client engagement strategies and retention results. We'd like to offer you a position as Director of Client Relations. The salary would be $700,000 base, plus performance incentives and profit sharing. Are you interested?" I stood in that hallway, listening to Rachel continue her presentation, and felt something shift inside me. $700,000, triple what I was making. But more than money, it was respect. Recognition. Someone seeing value in work that had just been publicly trashed. "Yeah, I accept." I walked back into that conference room, phone still in hand, head higher than it had been in months. Rachel was still talking about quarterly targets, but I didn't even glance her way. "I'll take it," I said in the calmest voice I could manage. The meeting screeched to a halt. 20 pairs of eyes staring at me, and for the first time in years, I held all the cards. 18 months earlier, I was basically nobody with a mortgage and dreams of not eating ramen every night. That's how I ended up at Metro Logistics on a rainy March morning, clutching gas station coffee and what I optimistically called my career restart. The building screamed, "We peaked in 1987. Beige everything, carpet that had seen better decades, lingering smell of industrial coffee and broken dreams. But beggars can't be choosers. The position was dispatch associate, glorified cubicle dweller logging tickets, handling reroutes, fielding angry calls from drivers pissed about everything from traffic to their ex-wives. Here's where it gets interesting. Rachel was already supervising the dispatch department. I was about to become an employee under my own wife's management. At home, we were equals. But the moment we walked through those office doors, she transformed into someone else entirely. She gave me the grand tour with DMV employee warmth. "This is your desk. Login info is taped in the drawer. Don't lose it because password resets take forever." She handed me protocols thick enough to stop bullets. "Memorize these. Questions go through proper channels. Teammates first, senior associates second. Only come to me for actual emergencies." My cubicle kingdom, ancient computer, museum piece phone, motivational kitten poster in Comic Sans font, real inspiring. The job was mind-numbing in ways I didn't know were possible. 8 hours of updating shipping statuses, answering calls from drivers who thought I personally controlled traffic across America. Why is I-95 backed up? My delivery's going to be late, and it's going to be your fault. Rachel managed with an iron fist, having read exactly one leadership book and deciding she was the next Steve Jobs. During meetings, she'd pace like a general, spouting buzzwords about synergistic solutions and optimizing operational throughput. But monotonous jobs give you time to observe. While coworkers went through motions, I started noticing patterns. Clients frustrated because regular drivers were out sick with no communication. Drivers burned out from geographically insane routes. Customer service treating clients like account numbers instead of humans. Mrs. Henderson from the flower shop would call weekly, getting the same robotic response. Your shipment is in transit within estimated time frame. No personality, no recognition of her 15-year loyalty. That's when I started something crazy, keeping personal notes. Not official logs, but observations about the people we dealt with. Rodriguez, the long-haul driver, had a daughter graduating nursing school, always requested Fridays for her calls. Mrs. Henderson did wedding orders Saturday mornings, so late Friday deliveries screwed her weekend. The logistics manager at Hartfield Industrial preferred email updates because his father was in hospice. None of this was in our system. Corporate wanted numbers, metrics, efficiency ratings, but I kept track anyway in a dollar store notebook. Coworkers thought I was nuts. Why care if Peterson's kid has soccer games? Just give him the route and move on. Rachel absolutely hated it. She'd see me taking notes after calls, jaw tightening like I was betraying policy. Stop wasting time on irrelevant details. We're not running a social club, we're running a business. But I kept doing it because something told me those irrelevant details were actually the most important part. The breakthrough came when Rodriguez shuffled to my desk looking defeated. Management had scheduled him for cross-country hall during his son's high school graduation. First in the family to finish. Listen, Thompson, I know you probably can't do nothing, but any way to switch my Friday route? My boy's graduating, and I promised I'd be there. Instead of the standard bureaucratic runaround, I smiled and said, let me see what I can do. 15 minutes of creative scheduling and 2 phone calls made it happen. Rodriguez got local Friday, Peterson got his Denver haul to see his girlfriend, and both customers got better service because their drivers were happy. Monday, Rodriguez brought donuts from his wife's bakery with tears in his eyes. My son asked where I worked, and for the first time in years, I was proud to tell him. That's when I realized I wasn't just keeping notes anymore. I was building something that actually worked. The shadow system grew like wildfire. Every customer interaction became a learning opportunity. Mrs. Henderson mentioned struggling with early deliveries due to her husband's dialysis appointments, so I routed hers for 10 a.m. Suddenly, she wasn't calling 3 times weekly to complain. She was recommending us to other businesses. Johnson Industrial had been hemorrhaging money on rush deliveries because their procurement manager seemed disorganized. But I learned he was actually incredibly organized. He just couldn't predict when their biggest client would demand double orders with 0 notice. So I started monitoring patterns and keeping backup inventory nearby. When emergency orders inevitably came, we were ready. Johnson went from complaints to premium contracts within 6 months. The beauty was that it wasn't really a system at all. It was just paying attention and giving a damn. Revolutionary concepts in corporate America, apparently. Clients who shopped around for rates started requesting me by name. Drivers stopped fighting route assignments because they knew I considered their lives outside work. Ask Thompson, he knows, became office folklore. But Rachel watched from her supervisor perch like a hawk eyeing prey. Every client compliment, every positive driver interaction felt like personal attack on her management philosophy. She'd see me scribbling notes and her arterial pressure would spike. What exactly are you writing that's not in the system? When I explained customer preferences and driver situations, she'd roll her eyes. We have protocols for a reason. You can't just make up procedures. But numbers don't lie. Our department's satisfaction scores climbed faster than gas prices. Complaint calls dropped 60%, driver retention improved, revenue steadily increased as happy customers expanded shipping volume. Other associates started asking advice on difficult customers. Some began keeping informal notes, though none went as deep as I did. Rachel saw this happening and treated it like insubordination. In her mind, I wasn't improving performance. I was undermining her authority by proving better ways existed. The better my results got, the more she resented my methods. But I kept going because for the first time, I felt like I was making a difference. Real customer loyalty couldn't be built with buzzwords and procedures. It came from treating people like humans instead of account numbers. Picture this: annual regional meeting, conference rooms smelling like burnt coffee and corporate desperation, regional managers who'd rather get root canals than sit through another quarterly presentation. Welcome to Metro Logistics' Dog and Pony Show, where dreams die and middle management pretends to care about pie charts. 3 mind-numbing hours of leveraging synergistic opportunities and optimizing human capital resources, corporate speak for squeezing more work from fewer people without paying more. Then CEO Gerald Morrison stepped up, and the room shifted. Morrison had clawed up from loading dock to executive suite, cutting through corporate nonsense in ways that made everyone pay attention. Early 60s, gray hair from stressful board meetings, eyes that missed nothing. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, clicking to a slide that made my heart skip, "I want to talk about remarkable numbers we've been seeing." The slide showed our department's satisfaction scores absolutely crushing it. The line climbed like a rocket to Mars. Client satisfaction in dispatch is up 36% year over year. This is the highest rating in our 23-year history. Not just good, the best we've ever been. 50 pairs of eyes swiveled toward me like I was a corporate unicorn. Coworkers stared with expressions from impressed to suspicious. Regional managers craned necks to see the guy working magic while they shuffled papers. Morrison clicked to retention rates, revenue per client, complaint resolution times. Every metric was green, trending upward like numbers that make CFOs break into happy dances. Client retention improved 42%, average revenue per account up 28%, complaint resolution time decreased 61%. These aren't just improvements. This is complete transformation. The room buzzed, people whispering and glancing my way like I was a freight logistics messiah. But Rachel sat 3 rows ahead, arms crossed tighter than a bank vault, jaw clenched like she might crack teeth. Her body language screamed, "This is not how this was supposed to go." "I don't usually single out individuals," Morrison said, making my stomach drop, "but I think it's important to recognize exceptional performance. The improvements in dispatch aren't happening by accident. They're the result of someone fundamentally changing how we interact with clients." Applause started slowly, but built into something genuine and warm. For the first time in my career, I was being recognized for actually doing good work instead of following protocols and keeping my head down. But Rachel sat through that ovation like a statue carved from pure resentment, staring at the projection screen with funeral expressions while everyone else celebrated. After the meeting, people came up wanting to know my methods, asking advice, treating me like I'd discovered the secret to turning water into wine. Regional managers shook hands saying, "Keep up excellent work," and "We need more people thinking like you." But Rachel had vanished faster than politician promises after elections. Not at coffee break, not in parking lot. Not at her desk when I looked. Like she'd evaporated, leaving only wounded pride and burning ambition. I should have known she was planning something. Public recognition for work she'd been trying to suppress would trigger retaliation. But I was riding too high on finally being appreciated. The next morning, a memo sat on my desk like a poisonous snake. Official letterhead, Rachel's signature, enough corporate speak to choke a horse. Due to exceptional performance metrics demonstrated in your client engagement initiatives, you are hereby assigned to compile comprehensive analysis of your methodologies for potential company-wide implementation. This project will serve as training resource and should encompass all aspects of your client interaction protocols. Deadline, 3 weeks. At first glance, it looked like reward, but I knew Rachel well enough to smell the trap underneath. This wasn't recognition. It was punishment disguised as opportunity. She was ordering me to document everything she disapproved of, probably to find ways to shut it down or prove it violated policy. But I was feeling cocky after Morrison's meeting. Maybe I could put together something comprehensive enough to finally convince her my approach wasn't touchy-feely nonsense, but legitimate business strategy making us money. 3 weeks of my life disappeared into that project. 14-hour days starting before sunrise, ending after cleaning crews left. I practically lived at the office, surviving on vending machine dinners and gas station coffee filtered through old socks. My cubicle became conspiracy theorist territory, covered in charts, graphs, printouts, enough sticky notes to wallpaper apartments. I documented everything, every client interaction improving satisfaction, Every driver situation resolved. Every gesture turning frustrated customers into loyal advocates. The final report was 60 pages of pure gold. Case studies, client testimonials, driver feedback, step-by-step methodology any associate could follow. Statistical analysis that would make data scientists weep with joy. If this didn't prove my point, nothing would. Sitting alone at 2 a.m. finishing it, I felt like I'd completed the great American novel. This wasn't just a report, it was vindication. Proof that caring about people wasn't just morally right, but profitable. Next morning, Rachel called mandatory training for the entire dispatch department to review new client engagement strategies. I walked in thinking I'd be crowned customer service king. Instead, I walked into a public execution. The projector was set up, Rachel standing with a shark's smile. 20 coworkers scattered around looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. The mood felt heavier than lead blankets. Today we're reviewing alternative approaches to client engagement, Rachel began, clicking to my report's first slide. My heart beat faster, not with excitement but creeping realization that something was very wrong. She delivered each point like homicide trial evidence, voice dripping sarcasm. According to this analysis, we should track when clients' children have soccer games and school events. Apparently, we're not just freight company anymore. We're running social services. She twisted every insight I documented, making careful observations sound ridiculous. Consider personal circumstances when assigning routes, including family events, medical appointments, relationship factors. So instead of optimizing for efficiency and profit, we should run dating services for drivers. The mockery was suffocating. She was systematically shredding 3 weeks of work, making me look like an idiot suggesting we abandon business sense for group therapy. Here's my personal favorite, she said, clicking to client birthdays section. We should send birthday cards and anniversary gifts because nothing says professional logistics like remembering when someone's golden retriever was born. I realized what was happening. This wasn't training. It was public humiliation designed to destroy any credibility I'd built. She was enjoying every minute of dismantling my work, but she wasn't finished. What came next would haunt me forever. You know what the real problem is? Rachel said, reaching my final recommendation slide. It's not scalable, not professional, and frankly, not what we're paid to do. We are not social workers. We are not therapists. We are a freight logistics company. Our job is moving packages from point A to B efficiently and profitably, period. The silence was deafening. Then she did something, crossing every line between professional criticism and personal cruelty. With theatrical flourish, she grabbed the mouse, dragged my entire report to trash, and hovered like dropping atomic bombs. This is garbage, she announced with funeral finality. This is exactly the thinking that keeps people stuck in entry-level positions instead of advancing careers. This is why I'm in charge. Then she clicked. 3 weeks of work, 60 pages of analysis, months of observation, gone. Deleted while 20 people watched in stunned silence. I sat there feeling gut-punched by heavyweight boxers, steel cables wrapped around my lungs cranking tighter, hands shaking with soul-deep humiliation that makes you question everything about your worth. Some coworkers looked genuinely sympathetic, faces reflecting horror of watching professional assassination. Others studied phones pretending they hadn't witnessed public execution. A few looked angry, not at me, but at unnecessary cruelty. Tears burned behind my eyes, 30 seconds before complete breakdown or saying something getting me fired. My throat was closing, every breath requiring conscious effort. That's when my phone buzzed. I ignored it first. Last thing I needed was spam about extended warranties during the wreckage of my dignity. But it kept buzzing, insistent. Finally, desperate for escape from suffocating conference room, I pulled out my phone. Unfamiliar number, 415 area code, San Francisco. Normally, I'd ignore it, but timing felt significant. Maybe divine intervention, maybe coincidence, maybe the universe finally throwing me a bone. Excuse me, I need to take this, I croaked, standing on rubber legs. Rachel's eyes followed, irritation radiating. She wasn't finished with her victory lap, and my call was interrupting supreme triumph. I stepped into the hallway, answering just before voicemail. Hello, this is David. Mr. Thompson, this is Elena Rodriguez from Summit Logistics. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Standing in that hallway felt like helicopter rescue from quicksand. 30 seconds from most humiliating moment of my career, this woman was discussing director positions and lottery-winning salaries. We've been following your work at Metro for several months. Your retention numbers, innovative driver satisfaction approach, ability to build genuine relationships in traditionally transactional industry. Frankly, it's exactly what we're looking for. I was pacing like caged tiger, trying to process whiplash from devastation to opportunity in one phone call. Through the door, I could hear Rachel's muffled lecture about professional boundaries, oblivious that her punching bag was about to become someone else's prize recruit. The position is Director of Client Relations, building our entire customer relationship strategy from ground up. We want someone understanding logistics isn't just moving boxes, it's moving people's lives, businesses, dreams. Based on everything we've heard, you're exactly the leader we need. $700,000. The number echoed like songs you can't escape, more than double my current salary, enough to completely change my life. But beyond money, though let's be honest, money was appealing. This was recognition. Someone seeing value in work that had just been publicly trashed. How did you hear about my work? I'm just dispatch associate at mid-size freight company. Not exactly making industry waves. Elena laughed genuinely. Remember helping Martinez Specialty Foods 8 months ago? Temperature-controlled shipment issues, regular account manager giving runaround? I remembered. Martinez was getting spoiled deliveries because drivers made unscheduled stops extending transit beyond refrigeration limits. Instead of logging complaints and passing up chain, I worked with the driver restructuring routes and coordinated with warehouse prioritizing temperature-sensitive loads. 3 phone calls and creative scheduling solved problems costing them thousands in spoiled inventory. Well, Martinez's owner is my brother-in-law. He's been singing your praises at every family dinner for 6 months. When we started looking for someone heading client integration, your name came up immediately. So I investigated, made calls, and every single person said the same thing. You're the guy who actually gives a damn. Something shifted inside me like lock tumblers falling into place. This wasn't just job offer. It was validation that everything I'd done, all extra effort Rachel dismissed as unprofessional time wasting, was actually valuable. Rare enough that companies would pay premium dollars. The offer stands at $700,000 base plus performance bonuses, easily pushing 8 figures if you deliver expected results. Full benefits, equity stake, complete autonomy, building your department however you see fit. No micromanaging, no second-guessing methods, just results. Through the door, Rachel was wrapping up her presentation about maintaining professional distance and following protocols. While she explained why caring about customers was unprofessional, I was being headhunted specifically because I cared. I don't need time to think. Yes, absolutely yes, I accept. Fantastic. I'll email contracts within the hour. Welcome to Summit Logistics, David. I think you'll love it here. I hung up and stood in that hallway, letting reality wash over me. 5 minutes from professionally destroyed to professionally reborn, from having life's work called garbage to being offered positions most people spend decades working toward. I pushed through the door just as Rachel launched closing arguments about following procedures and maintaining boundaries. She looked up with condescending expression, expecting me to slink back like beaten dog returning to kennel. Instead, I walked to the front, held up my phone so everyone could see, and said in the calmest voice I could manage, "Quick announcement. I resign. Effective immediately." The silence was the kind before natural disasters. 20 people staring like I'd announced flying to Mars on pogo stick. Rachel's mouth fell open, literally hanging like she'd forgotten how jaws work. "That's not how this works," she sputtered, voice cracking. "You can't just... There are procedures, protocols, proper channels." I turned my phone toward the room showing email from Summit's HR, digital contract, and official letterhead. It's exactly how this works. I just accepted Director of Client Relations at Summit Logistics. $700,000 base salary, full benefits, equity stake. The room erupted like someone threw grenades into libraries. 2 years later, I'm sitting in my corner office on Summit's 15th floor, looking over a city where I've become successful enough that people seek my opinion. The nameplate reads, David Thompson, Managing Partner, and sometimes I still double take. The promotion came with perks that would have blown my old mind. Entire floor under management, team of 37 people who enjoy work, budget bigger than small countries' GDP. But real victory isn't money or title or office views making visiting clients stop mid-sentence to stare. It's the culture we've built. Our client integration system became logistics industry legend. We don't just track birthdays anymore. We've created comprehensive life event monitoring that would make NSA jealous if they were into freight instead of security. Graduations, promotions, expansions, new babies, pet adoptions. We log everything and respond appropriately. Last week, we sent congratulations flowers for a client's daughter getting into Harvard. Week before, comfort food for customer whose father underwent chemo. These aren't just nice gestures. They're business strategies turning our client base into fan clubs rather than customer lists. The numbers don't lie. Jennifer told me during monthly review, scrolling metrics making CEOs weep with joy. Client retention up 87% year over year. Satisfaction scores consistently high 90s. Net promoter score so high industry analysts keep calling to verify we're not fabricating data. But here's what really excites me about what we've built. We're not just succeeding. We're changing how people think about business relationships. Companies across the industry are trying to reverse engineer our approach, hiring consultants to figure out our secret sauce, as if treating people like humans is proprietary technology that can be patented. Marcus, now our director of driver relations, put it best. We're not running logistics company that happens to care about people. We're running people company that happens to move freight. That makes all the difference. The satisfying part? Old Metro coworkers have been reaching out steadily since word got around about success. Messages follow predictable patterns, awkward small talk, casual inquiries about how things are going, then inevitable, "You wouldn't happen to be hiring, would you?" Last month, Dave messaged. Same guy who sent sympathy cards about dead forklifts. "Hey David, hope you're well. Heard great things about what you're building. If you have openings for someone with dispatch experience, I'd love to apply. Things haven't been the same since you left." I hired him. Not from pity, but because Dave was always a decent guy needing an environment where caring about customers was encouraged instead of mocked. He started 3 weeks ago, already proving people do amazing work when not constantly looking over shoulders, wondering if showing basic human decency will get them in trouble. I'm now in position to help same people who watched me get publicly humiliated. But that's the thing about real success. It gives you luxury of being gracious instead of petty. I don't need revenge when I have results. Besides, revenge took care of itself. Rachel's consulting career lasted about as long as snowballs in hell. Turns out, former supervisor who destroyed department through poor leadership isn't compelling selling point for potential clients. Her LinkedIn has gone through 17 iterations, each sounding more desperate. Latest describes her as change management specialist with organizational restructuring expertise. Consultant speak for, "I got fired and I'm trying to make it sound strategic." Meanwhile, Summit just signed partnerships with 3 major retail chains, doubling our revenue over next fiscal year. The signing ceremony was held in our conference room, same one where we hold weekly meetings reviewing client birthdays, business anniversaries, and life events worth celebrating. You know what I love most about this place? Nobody thinks caring about customers makes us soft or unprofessional. It makes us better at our jobs. That's the truth Rachel never understood. The lesson she was too proud to learn even when evidence stared her in the face. Kindness isn't weakness in business. It's competitive advantage. Treating people like humans isn't unprofessional. It's the most professional thing you can do. Building relationships instead of processing transactions isn't inefficient. It's the most efficient path to long-term success. I still get conference invitations to speak about our revolutionary customer relations approach. Revolutionary? As if remembering names and asking about kids is groundbreaking innovation instead of basic human decency most companies forgot how to practice, but I'll take it. I'll stand up there talking about the radical concept of treating customers like people, building meaningful business relationships, creating workplace cultures where caring about others is rewarded instead of punished. If that makes me revolutionary, then I'm leading the revolution. In the end, the best revenge wasn't payback or public humiliation or watching Rachel's professional downfall from my corner office. The best revenge was being too damn good to ignore, building something so successful the industry had no choice but to pay attention, and proving that kindness scales better than arrogance every single time.